So at this time, I'd like to welcome into the live stream Rich Unverferth. Rich is the Director of Engineering at MSD. Rich, you are no stranger to this expo, so thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to looking at your presentation.
Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, we'll jump right into it. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Good morning. I hope everyone can see my lead slide here. Welcome everybody to the Side Expo, and welcome to the presentation on our fiscal year 22 capital improvement program. As I do every year, I'm going to give you a look ahead of the projects we have coming up over the next year. The proposed construction program, our fiscal year starts in July. So as we move forward here, jam-packed agenda, as Jeremy said. I'm going to give a quick introduction about MSD, although they did have some on the slides coming into the program. I'm going to talk about the overall program summary for fiscal year 22, talk about some of our ongoing work, the procurements we need, talk about some of our small contractor work order repairs, and then I'll give you a quick look ahead of the upcoming years. And then I talk a little bit of how you really want to do business with MSD, our pre-qualification process, opportunities in the small contractor program. We do plan out all of our bids, try to over the course of a year. Where can you find that? Talk a little bit about prevailing wage and diversity, which are requirements working with MSD. I'll talk a little bit about our oversight group, our construction management division, give you a few names there of who's running that for me here at MSD. And then I'm going to take a chance to plug a bond issue election and charter change election we have coming up here in about a month, a little over a month in April, which helps fund our next 4 years of the program. And I'll talk a little bit about that, having time. And we should have time as I get through this for folks to ask questions. Again, use your chat function, and we'll take a look and I'll try to answer those questions. Little quick overview of MSD. Obviously, we're a governmental entity. We're about 520 square miles. We have about 1,300 customers. And believe it or not, we serve 88 municipalities in the St. Louis area. So there's a lot of different entities we have to deal with. We have 7 treatment plants that treat over 350 million gallons of sewage a day that come to our treatment plants. If you add all 3 of those sewers, the sanitary, the combined, and the storm sewers, it's about 9,000 miles of sewer. So a lot of sewers out there to maintain. We're doing a lot of improvements on those sewers, which you're going to see here soon. And then that makes us the 4th largest in the United States as far as sewer district goes. So we're fairly large in what we do, and I think we do a good job at it. Again, we're looking at our fiscal year 22, which starts July 1st. What you're looking at here is a cover sheet of our what we call our budget supplement, which is really our capital program. This is a draft. Right now, if you see the word preliminary at the bottom, so there are subject to some change between now and May when we approve our budget with our board. But the numbers are pretty solid. We're going to be pretty close to what we have. I did look this morning, this budget supplement, which has a page for each project that we have, is not on our website yet. I can't tell you exactly when it comes on, but typically it's the 1st of March when we meet with our board and present the budget. We do a budget hearing, and then you'll be able to get real detail on these projects. What I'm giving you today is pretty much a summary of what we got going. So here's what we've got. We've got a total of 148 projects that we're doing this upcoming year for a total of about $357 million worth of work. Our program is pretty much held that line anywhere from 300 to 400 million a year, probably for the last at least 7 or 8 years. I don't anticipate that's going to go down. I think when I do a little look ahead here later, you will see the dollars are going to be there, but we've got some large projects coming up here in the 2020s that will reduce the total number of projects, but still have a number of projects that we're doing. The majority of the work you'll see there in the top, and wastewater engineering and construction is on our wastewater side. And we are still doing some stormwater work. We had a little setback in 2019, trying to get a trying to get a funding initiative for stormwater district-wide that failed. So we have funding partially across the district for our stormwater program. But after our bond issue election in April, we're planning on going back, talking to folks, trying to figure out what will get us over the top and get people comfortable with paying for that service. So we'll move on. I'm going to cover a little bit. We have a lot of work going on right now throughout the district. We have probably at any one time over 200 to 250 projects going. Many of our projects are large and complex, and we spread budgeting out for some of those larger projects over multiple years. So what you will see in the fiscal year 22, I'm showing 8 projects up here. These are the large projects that we started this fiscal year, either in 20 or 21, and we've got about $131 million allocated for those projects that are ongoing. I won't go through them, but a couple of larger ones. We've got a new tunnel we're starting, Lower Merrimack Tunnel, which goes up to eliminate our Fenton wastewater treatment plant. And then we also have a Jefferson Barracks tunnel going. One of our largest open cut projects that we've had in a year, which is about 5 miles of large diameter sanitary, is our Deer Creek, or DC 2 and 3, which is right there in the middle of the page. We have 2 contractors working on separate phases of that project right now. So that's a very extensive ongoing program. What you see here, picture, is one of our ongoing projects. And I waited till this slide to show it. If you go down Highway 44 and you speed past my hometown there of Shrewsbury, you look to the old Laclede gas tank sites, and you'll see a lot of activity. We've been working at that site for almost 3 years now. We had 2 different contractors use that site. The first one was SAK. They were performing a Deer Creek tunnel, which is a 5-mile, 20-foot diameter tunnel that started at this location. It went all the way up to the other side of the Galleria, just to give you some perspective. That tunnel is holed out. They're actually lining that tunnel now, but they gave up this site earlier in 2020 to our contractor, KCI, who's doing the actual tunnel pump station. So what you see there is where the 3 shafts are for that pump station. So there's quite a few cranes sitting on that site, and that work's ongoing right now. But that whole system is scheduled to come online sometime in calendar year 2022. This is the Deer Creek, a couple pictures from the Deer Creek project that I talked about. As I indicated, we got 2 contractors working this area. This is anywhere from 8-inch to 54-inch diameter sewers. It's typically about 30 feet deep. And if you're familiar with the Deer Creek area, basically the project started out in Maplewood, went through Brentwood, going through the Ladue, will end up in Frontenac. So I apologize for that. I meant to turn my phone off. What you're seeing there is, on the right-hand side, is we get 30 feet deep in the Deer Creek watershed. We run into quite a bit of rock. So imagine we're doing a lot of blasting through a lot of residential areas. So we'll keep working on that project, and that project's scheduled to come online, I think, is in early 2023. And this is kind of really what people want to know, is what other new projects do we have coming up this year. We have 50 new bids coming out this upcoming year, and there's a little bit of a breakdown. But as you can see, the majority of the work we have is actually open cut sewer work. These are sanitary relief projects. I'll give some details here in a minute, kind of as we go through there. But obviously, there's $59 million worth of work on those open cut projects. And then another big dollar amount that we have there is on facilities. We're starting up a new facility at our Lower Merrimack plant, and that is scheduled to start this fiscal year. And that $48 million is just a portion of that funding. We'll start off. I'm going to go through each one of those categories that I listed there before. These are the procurements needed, and the CIPP is cured in place pipe. This is our extensive rehabilitation program that the district started back. We've been lining and rehabilitating pipes as long as I've been here at the district, for at least 30 years. We're very fortunate here at MSD to have two of the larger rehabilitation contractors in the country working right here in our backyard. That's beneficial to us because we are doing a lot. We've been typically, for the last 10 years, been doing anywhere from 70 to $100 million worth of pipelining a year. Doing that for two reasons: to rehabilitate our system that we have out there, the 900 miles I talked about, but also to eliminate inflow and infiltration into our system, which is our primary driver, is to tighten up our sanitary system and reduce overflows. So we have 8 new projects coming up this next fiscal year for a total of about $24 million. That is down, but we've purposely gone that way. We've spent the last 4 or 5 years really front loading that type work. And it's really been successful, allowing us to reduce the inflow to our system, and has allowed us to eliminate some of the projects that we originally had planned for our program. These are the 2 facility projects that were on that list that we saw earlier. And again, the big one is the Lower Merrimack Wastewater Treatment Plant. I talked a little earlier about a new tunnel, a Lower Merrimack tunnel that was built, that was bid this year, that'll bring the flows from our Fenton wastewater treatment plant down to the Lower Merrimack plant. In order to accept those flows at that plant, obviously we've got to expand the plant for the increased flow. So we've got the projects timed to where once we complete the tunnel and take the Fenton treatment plant offline, then our plant at Lower Merrimack will be able to take those flows. We're looking about adding another 10 million gallons a day to our Lower Merrimack plant. And also, that plant is about 30, get close to 20 plus years old. We're taking the opportunity to do some upgrades to that plant as part of the work ourselves. So that job will be bid later this fiscal year, and obviously the construction is going to span over several years. The total cost on that, by the way, I already switched slides, is about $107 million for that wastewater treatment plant project. So the $48 million is just the first part of the funding for that project. The next one is the district has over 270 pump stations out there that push flow around, in addition to the 900 miles of gravity sewer we have out there. So a lot of our flow, obviously, in the hilly terrains is being pushed around, and even in the floodplain areas is being pushed to our treatment plants through the use of pump stations and force mains. When you have that many pump stations out there, a lot of them have existed for the 60 years that the district has existed. We're doing a lot of operations and maintenance to those stations, which includes major rehabilitation and replacement of these stations. So this upcoming fiscal year, we have 5 of these type projects. And I think you can expect to see continuous, anywhere from 5 to 10 projects similar to this as we move forward throughout the years, just to keep those up and running. 5 of those projects totaling $10 million. 2 of these are full, complete replacements of pump stations, and 3 of them are doing major renovations to the plants. The Cox Creek Pump Station A, which is located, the top line there, is located out in Chesterfield Valley. We're upgrading that pump station. Obviously, there's been a lot of development in that area. We've also had a number of projects to replace that force main in the Missouri River Valley. That's been ongoing for at least 10 years. We just bid the last part of that project just this past year. Thank you. Next is this is the biggie. I talked about it earlier. The next 4 slides list 29 new sewer projects that the district is going to be performing over the next year, or putting out to bid to allow you. So, excuse me, I'm going to try to get to my notes here. Got a few extra items on this. Again, there's 29 projects listed here. We're actually going to be replacing close to 60,000 feet of new sanitary sewers. And typically that's a replacement of the existing or even providing new sewers. So these projects, again, in the size of the pipes are anywhere from 12-inch all the way up to 108-inch. The top project there, the Harlem-Baden project, is a large multi-phased. We've been building on that. That's probably a 10-year project. And actually, it's a project that we're working with the Corps of Engineers. Mike Feldman's going to follow me. The Corps has actually built some of that work for us. It provides funding for us. It allows us to reduce our funding required by our ratepayers to build this large combined sewer relief project. And on these next 4 pages, I've kind of highlighted one of the projects just to give a little more information on. Right there in the middle is Warson Woods Sanitary Relief. It's about almost 2 miles of sanitary sewer, and it's correctly named. It basically goes right through the heart of Warson Woods. If you've been into Warson Woods, right off of Manchester, it goes right down their main street. So it's a very complicated job. It's a multi-year job. So at the $5 million is just the start of the construction. But as you can see, the purpose of that job is to eliminate 3 sanitary sewer overflows that really overflow right to the main channel that goes down through the heart of Warson Woods. It's a residential area. The creek where these overflows is right adjacent to their park and their swim club. So it's really important for us, for the environment, to get those overflows out and clean up the environment in the Warson Woods area. So that's just one of the projects on this sheet. Next sheet, again, 5 more projects that we have. I'll just highlight the one. It's a sub-trunk number 2. This is a South County project, constructing about 4,400 feet of 18 to 21-inch. Again, it's eliminating 3 overflows to our program. The district consent decree, when we started the consent decree back in 2012, the district had over 300 overflows that we needed to eliminate. The consent decree requires us to get down to 30 by the end of 2023. So a lot of the work we've been doing over the past 10 years. And I'm happy to say we're down to about right around 80 right now. And a lot of the work that you're seeing now will get us down to that 30 by 2023. Meeting all of our requirements. But another thing about this is a lot of this is in South County. A lot of the sewers in the county, when they built and the area was developed, you know, they put in a lot of 8-inch and 10-inch sewer lines that basically took care of the need at the time. Through development and other things, is these no longer have the capacity to handle the flow. So you'll see a lot of the sewers that were 8 and 10-inch were increasing to 18, 21, 24, and getting that flow to our plants. So the first part of our program, we did a lot of work at our plants to allow this flow to come, and here we're right now we're sending that flow to the plants. Another project, this Canterbury and Roland's actually in the Northwoods and North County area. Again, a lot of residential area, eliminating 2 overflows in the system. I kind of picked this one out because if you think about where our sewers are located, a lot of them are located in the streets, but then a lot of them are located behind homes, near creeks, near stormwater sewers. This particular one, obviously we've got adjacent to an existing rock line channel. So a lot of our wastewater jobs do have some storm component to it, or bank protection or bank stabilization to restore that creek as we work. The Deer Creek project, which I talked about earlier, is in and out of Deer Creek, has multiple crossings, so there's a lot of that type of work that's part of that project. And then the last one, this one here I highlighted because I did talk a little bit about the wastewater program, but we still are doing stormwater work. Of this program, of these 29 projects, we are replacing about 5,000, almost a mile of storm sewer as well. So we are doing some projects. This is one of the larger storm projects we have going. It's in the Lemay, South County area, and we're replacing about 1,000 feet of 12 to 24 inch diameter storm. Actually, it's probably new construction. A lot of the Lemay area does not have storm sewers, and so we're building storm sewers in order to provide service for that area. So again, this really concludes the bulk of the sewer work that we're performing over this next year. I think you'll see this type of work. We've been doing this type of work for the last few years, for a couple more years, and I'll give you a little quick look ahead. Then a lot of our projects become larger and more extensive and costly, so we'll see less of the number of projects, but still keep the dollars up there. PIR, you probably wonder, what does PIR mean? It's private inflow removal. I mentioned building new sewers and increasing capacity of our sewer system. In addition to that, we have stormwater that enters our system either through the sewers themselves. This is why we do a lot of our rehabilitation of our sewers. But we also have just direct connections. We have areas that, specifically have storm sewers that maybe weren't supposed to be connected to the sanitary sewer, or there's an area where the homes were built that have connections to the sanitary system. In other words, our entire city is a combined sewer system where the storm and the sanitary go together. But then when development happened, they went out to the county and the near county and the Shrewsbury, Webster Groves, Brentwood area, and they built the same homes and connected that right to the sanitary. Well, the sanitaries weren't really equipped to handle the stormwater. So now we're going back and we're going property to property to try to eliminate that. These three PIR projects total about $1.7 million. And we're actually going individually onto over 200 projects, 200 individual homes to remove connections. It can be anywhere from a downspout to the sewer vent in the front yard, or even have a storm sewer that there's a low spot in the backyard and somebody built a storm sewer and said, oh, here's a manhole, I'll connect to it. We've got to get that off. That's one of our main components that drives those overflows that we're trying to get rid of. In a lot of cases during a rain event, it ends up in people's basements. And that's what we're trying to avoid by doing this type of work. Again, three projects in this type area. Again, some stormwater work. I talked about the mile of storm sewer we're building. We're doing actual creek work too. Our three biggest issues with stormwater our two big issues with stormwater is flooding and erosion. If people live next to a creek, these creeks are getting more flow these days, so they start meandering and getting close to structures, homes, taking people's yards with them. In a lot of cases, they're taking our sewers with them. But we do have three projects coming up in this area over the next year. A lot of these construction used to be, we would pave the channels, build concrete channels, or put in large diameter storm sewers. This work has gone more green. So the bulk of the work is using biostabilization or green technology, along with hard armor where we need it, where we don't necessarily have the room to put in. So we have three of those projects that we're bidding over this next year, and these have turned out real well for us over the past few years. Work order repairs. This is another portion of our program outside of the projects that I've been covering here for the first few pages. The district sets aside a total of $16 million, and it's ranged anywhere from 10 million to 20 million over the past 10 years. Again, we have 900 miles of sewer out there to keep repairs and maintain, and so we have a lot of projects that we do. So we have three separate portions of dollars that we set aside to do this type of work. One is for the sewers themselves. We set about $7 million for work at sewers. We also set aside about $3 million for work at our plants. Imagine at our plants, we've got a lot of mechanical, electrical, concrete, things like that just need annual upgrades and repairs at those plants. So these are small projects that aren't specifically listed in the capital program, but we do bid throughout the year. So that number of 50 that I showed you earlier of bids really will end up closer to 100 to 110 with the addition of projects that we do with this type of work. And then recently in 2016, we were able to get funding for the operation and maintenance of our storm system. So we've, again, got a lot of storm sewers out there that have never been maintained. So we've set about $6 million aside to do that work. What it really amounts to, looking at the top line there, the construction and repair, and I'll talk a little bit about what I call our small contractor program. We bid out close to 400 projects a year that are under $50,000. That gives an opportunity for new and smaller and minority contractors to participate in our program. We don't necessarily put together full sets of plans on these. These are typically sketches. We provide it to 4 contractors. They give us bids on it, and we do the work. So like I said, there's 400 projects that are outside of the 148 that I showed you earlier in the program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that when I talk about doing business with MSD. Again, if all that 350 million wasn't enough, there are occasions where some of those projects that I've listed have issues with getting easements. We have struggles with other utilities. So some of those projects could slip. In other words, we don't have them ready to go and we're not able to bid them. Well, we try to keep projects in the queue, and we call those contingency projects. We have a total of $125 million worth of projects are just kind of sitting there and waiting in case we have a project slip and we have this project ready to go. Again, it's our goal to maintain our program at that level and get this work done. These are all needed projects, so the ability to bring those forward is a good thing. We didn't always have this. We've only done this probably for the last 10 years. We've set up our capital program and got approval from our board to allow us to if funding is available within the program, to move that program forward or projects forward. Looking ahead, I'm going to take a quick drink here. Again, fiscal year 22, the estimated number of bids you're seeing there is 50. Those are the projects I've talked about. And then again, you add in the infrastructure work that we bid out. You could be looking at a number closer to 100. Next year is another good size year with 71 total projects. So you're going to see a lot of what we saw this year. Again, you're going to see a lot of relief jobs that we have to have done by 2023. And I think there's a good number of those pump station type projects that I talked about earlier. But as we move into fiscal year 24, 25, and 26, you see those number of bid opportunities drop. The reasoning for that is starting in fiscal year 24, 25, and 26, if you recall, I talked about some major projects that we're doing. That Lower Merrimack treatment plant is $107 million. We also have a design build project that we're starting in fiscal year 23 and 24. That's a $500 million project at one location, our Lime and our Bissell wastewater treatment plants. So our program is going to have big dollars, as you can see, 435 and still 350 million. but a lot of our dollars are going to be tied up in those larger projects, so less of the sanitary relief. That also is a factor of us having to do a lot of the sanitary work and the removal of overflows in the first 10 years of our program. And by 2023, that's the 300 overflows down to the 30 overflows. We'll still be doing that type of work, but a lot of the work will be going more towards combined sewer tunnels. And then in 25 and 26, we've got another large $750 million tunnel under River to Pear to capture combined sewer overflows. One of the things that could impact this number is again, if we are able to get some stormwater funding in the future, we'll be able to do that. So I want to keep watching my time here. I've got about 15 minutes, so I think we're in good shape. So I mentioned design build projects. We have 2 coming up in fiscal year 23. We typically only do 1 or 2 projects of design build on an annual basis. The 2 lower projects there, the El Toro wet weather storage facility, we have 1 design build wet weather storage facility going on right now in the Pagedale area. This one too is in the Pagedale area. And then we've been doing some design build on rehabilitation of our flood wall pumping stations. There's 30 of those stations up and down the Mississippi. They were built in the early 60s, and we're going systematically rehabilitating those. We've identified about $35 million worth of work on those pump stations to keep them operating and protecting the downtown area. And they also are used for our wet weather, for our combined sewer overflows on the Mississippi River. But the big one is the top one there. We'll actually have RFQ and RFP for design builders going out in fiscal year 22 with the selection in 23. Again, that's a $500 million project, replacing our incinerators, our multiple hearth incinerators at our wastewater plants. At both plants, we're replacing those with new technology, which will be much cleaner and meet our current regulatory requirements. So that project is in the works right now. So I'm going to change tunes a little bit, talk less about projects, and I'll slide through these pretty quick. There's a lot of verbiage on them, so you'll have an opportunity to see the presentation. And I think we're going to provide this presentation to Jeremy and the folks at site, so they'd be able. And this presentation typically we'll post on our website as well, so you can get all the specific details, including my notes that we're going through. In order to work for MSD, you do have to be pre-qualified. If you're new to MSD, you can pre-qualify at any time. If you're a contractor for MSD, we have a set process. This usually starts in the summer. You pre-qualify, and then we pre-qualify in categories based on the type of work that you do. Not everybody can do work at treatment plants. Not everybody can do deep sewer construction. So we look at your resume and you request pre-qualification to certain categories. And then when we put out the bids, we state which categories are allowed to bid that work. Our small contractor program, and again, there's information about this out on the website. On all these programs, we do provide a website address. Again, this is a program, very successful program for growing contractors. Both a lot of our minority contractors start out or participate in this area, and then some of our smaller ones have graduated. This allows you to bid on be one of those 4 contractors that gets an opportunity to bid on some of that work that's under $50,000. We just increased that. It used to be 25, and we just increased that to 50,000 recently due to some Missouri legislation that will allow that bidding process. So that's really helped us because our costs have gone up on those. But like I said, we'll do over 400 projects on the range of, typically the cost of those are right around 10 grand. So again, it gets a lot of repairs done for us very efficiently, and it provides a spot for contractors to learn and grow and graduate into our program. One thing, you can always stay in this program if you want to start doing larger projects. You can stay in this program as long as you stay in projects under $500,000. If you start wanting to do larger larger, deep sewer projects, projects at our plants, things like that, we would consider you graduated from this program to allow us to keep new projects or contractors moving into the program. Like I said, we try to plan our program out over the years. So those 50 scheduled bids that we have planned, we spread those out and we provide what we call a board introduction schedule. In other words, we want to know when our projects are bid, when they're going to go to our board. One of the things at the end of our projects, when we get our bids, it takes another 2 months to get approval, to appropriate the dollars and get all the reviews on the bids done. So what this does is says when we're planning on going to our board, and then you can back off 2 months from that, and that's when you'll see the bid. But we give plenty of notice with regard to our bid, which is really our next slide. The district uses the plan room, the MSD plan room, to put out our bids. If you sign up for our plan room, it will give you email notices as to when a project's posted to the plan room, and by what you're pre-qualified for. You could also ask to see every time we put one out there, regardless of whether you're pre-qualified, and that's an opportunity for subcontractors, suppliers, things like that, to really know when they've got to go to work and get you guys, the contractors, their numbers for the work they're going to do. The district is a public entity in the state of Missouri. State of Missouri requires public entities provide prevailing wage on their contracts. The district also has this requirement in its charter to have a prevailing wage program. Ours is slightly different in the way we calculate our prevailing wage, but the job categories for the positions are exactly the way the state is. There's more details. We have a prevailing wage policy out there on how we do it. We look at our prevailing wage rates on an annual basis. We're in the process of doing that right now, and then we'll post those new prevailing wages at the start of our fiscal year. But the district has always done a good job at maintaining our prevailing wage. It's very important to our board and to our stakeholders that we maintain prevailing wage for the workers here in St. Louis area. The district does have a very robust diversity program. We have since I've known the district, we've had a diversity program, but in start of the turn of 2000, we started looking a little harder at our diversity and looking to really require diversity on our projects which meets the area. In other words, what our goal is with our diversity program is we want the subcontracting community to have opportunities to work on our projects to the level of availability out there. And another part of our program that came into being around 2010 was the inclusion of workforce requirements. To me, very important to have the employers for the district and the workers working for our project to match what the St. Louis area has. So with regard to diversity on construction projects that the district has over $50,000, there's a 17% subcontracting for minority African-American businesses. That could be a subcontractor that perform work, or it could be suppliers as well. And there is a decrease if it's just strictly a supplier. They may not get full credit for that percentage, but it's a 17% requirement for district building projects that are done at our treatment plants. That increases to 30%, but allows other minorities to participate in that 30%. The district does a lot of work where we borrow money from the state of Missouri and do federal funding work. On those particular projects, the diversity requirements are a little adjusted. Typically, they're 10% minority and 10% women, so 20% subcontractor requirement for those two entities. On the workforce, the district requires a total of, for projects over 500,000, we require a 30% minority workforce and 7% women workforce, and that's boots on the ground project that we have there. I'm just trying to catch up here with my notes. I'm going to skip over these because I'm running a little short of time, but these on the slide presentation is our organizational chart for the MSD. I have 4 divisions. We have a construction management division that manages all of our program. That is run by Alan Mueller. He has 3 divisions. If you do work for MSD, I would recommend you go out to our website, take a look at these, because these are the names for the faces that come out and look at your jobs on an everyday basis. And before I get out of here and I run out of time here because I'm getting close, I do want to touch on this. The district does have a proposition on the ballot on April 4th. It's Proposition Y. The district funds its programs on a 4-year rolling program, and then every 4 years then we borrow dollars to support that program. Again, it's to support all the work that I just talked about, but basically the wastewater program and our program to eliminate those 50 wastewater sewer overflows that I talked about. Our 4-year program is typically about $1.6 billion. Again, some major projects is that Lower Merrimack treatment plant and the Lower Merrimack proposal. But again, it's Proposition Y. We're asking for $500 million in additional bonds for the 4 years. Not like other bond issues. Most of you guys that live in municipalities or school districts are looking at bond issues that, hey, if the bond issue doesn't pass, the work just doesn't happen. The district isn't in that position, because if we don't pass the bond issue, that doesn't keep us from having to do the work. So we still have to do the work. So it's a matter of we're asking the folks to give us approval for bonds so we can allow to keep the rates lower. And this really kind of sets this up. The chart on the left, if the voters vote yes on April 4th, what you see there is the rate increases that they'll see on their sewer bill, the average sewer bill for a residential customer over the next 4 years. So if you're paying somewhere close to that right now, and you're an MSD customer paying $56.40, you'll see about a 3 to 4% increase each year. And at the end of the 4-year program, when we get ready to do another 4-year program, your rates will be about $62. We first started the program back in 2011. We're projecting where the rates were going to go. We were seeing double-digit rate increases through the life of the consent decree. We've done very good with the program. We've come in less with the program, and we've got very good financing. Anybody out there doing financing knows we're getting bond rates, and we got some funding through the state that, the basis points were under 1. So very good bonding. We've saved literally millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars on our financing of our program, which is reflected in those rates. But there are people out there that says, hey, we would rather you not bond to pay for this work and pay for it now, so our kids aren't paying for it later. Again, that exists. If folks vote no, the unfortunate thing is their rates will go up. And they'll go up higher than the 3% if they vote yes. So you're seeing in the teens, you'll see the rates go up and getting up to close to $86 a month by 2024. We've been very successful with our financing plans that we've done over the years. We've seen typically in the 70% yes vote range. We anticipate that again, but again, you never can tell with the voting public. I'm not going to go through these. I got 3 slides. The district also has some plan amendment charter changes. Every 10 years, we're supposed to do some charter changes. Our charter was adopted in '56. It was changed in 2000, and we didn't make any changes in 2010. and there are a few changes. There are 5 charter change amendments on there. They deal with the pay for our board members for their meetings. It includes some remove some obsolete provisions. And so they're fairly minor as far as day-to-day impact of the district, but they're necessary in order to keep us running efficiently. So we appreciate your support on those. But at that time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, I didn't leave myself time. I didn't do that on purpose, but there was a lot of information I wanted to cover and provide to you all. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then see if there are any questions out there.
Rich has figured this out. He basically goes so long in his presentation that he doesn't have any time for question and answers. And Rich, again, thank you. Wonderful presentation. There's not any questions at this time right now, but if any of our members do have a question, email those to Leah. We can send those to Rich for him to answer, and we'll get back to you on those. Again, site is supportive of Proposition Y. Hope it passes for you. And with that, Rich, we're going to go into a break. We've got about a 5-minute break before we bring on Mike Feldman with the Army Corps of Engineers. Again, thank you, Rich, for your presentation and being supportive of the Expo.
Thanks, Jeremy, and good luck with the rest of the Expo. And thanks, everybody, for being here today.